Alina had always believed her fiancé, Daniel, was her safe place. He was charming, attentive, and whispered promises of forever whenever he held her hand. She trusted him blindly, never questioning his late-night meetings or cold silences. Love, she thought, could conquer everything. But on the night that was supposed to mark a new chapter in their lives, her world collapsed. Daniel invited her to a private dinner, pouring her a glass of wine with a smile she mistook for tenderness. She didn't notice the bitterness in the taste until her vision blurred, and her limbs grew heavy. Fear clawed at her chest, but his hand stroking her hair silenced her panic. When she finally lost consciousness, Daniel whispered words she could not hear. A transaction, a betrayal. He had sold the one thing she had guarded all her life, her purity, to a stranger. Hours later, she would awaken in a place she had never seen before, with a man she had never met, a man whose power could shake her entire existence. But for now, all she knew was the sting of the cruelest betrayal. The man she loved had sold her body and shattered her soul. Soft silk sheets pressed against Alina's skin as she stirred, her head pounding, her body heavy. She blinked against the golden glow of a chandelier, confusion wrapping around her like chains. This wasn't her apartment nor Daniel's home. The scent of expensive cologne lingered in the air, sharp and commanding. Her gaze darted around until it landed on him, a tall man standing by the window, his sharp suit hugging broad shoulders, his presence radiating authority. His dark eyes met hers, calm yet piercing, as though he had been waiting for her to wake. "Finally," he said, his voice deep and controlled. "You're awake." Alina's throat tightened. She pulled the sheet closer to her chest, shame burning inside her. Memories flickered. Daniel's smile, the bitter wine, the sinking darkness. Then horror dawned. She had been brought here. Where am I?" she whispered. "In my suite," the man replied, stepping closer. "And who I am doesn't matter yet. What matters is that your life has changed forever." Tears pricked her eyes as reality crashed down. She wasn't just in a stranger's bed. She was in the hands of a man powerful enough to own her fate. The stranger finally introduced himself, Alexander Blackwood, a name whispered in elite circles with both fear and respect. He was a billionaire CEO, a man known for his ruthless deals and untouchable power. To Alina, he was nothing less than terrifying. Alexander's eyes scanned her with unnerving intensity, as though stripping away every layer of her soul. "You were given to me," he said bluntly, his voice void of sympathy. "And I don't return what I've bought." Her heart clenched at his words, bought like an object. She wanted to scream, to run, but her trembling body betrayed her. Why me?" she choked out. His jaw tightened. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Not desire, but something deeper, hidden. Yet his tone remained cold. "Because your fiancé was desperate, and I was curious." Humiliation washed over her, but beneath the shame, anger sparked. How could Daniel do this to her? How could this stranger claim her so easily? Alexander leaned closer, his gaze sharp enough to cut. "You're in my world now. Whether you hate me or not, you belong here." And in that moment, Alina realized her nightmare had only just begun. Alina sat on the edge of the bed, clutching the sheet around her, as Alexander circled like a predator studying prey. His voice was calm, but every word dripped with control. "You've lost everything," he said, his sharp eyes locking onto hers. "Your fiancé betrayed you. Your dignity, your innocence, gone. But I can protect you from further ruin." She flinched. "Protect?" It sounded more like a trap. "What do you want from me?" she whispered. He leaned closer, his hand brushing against her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. "I want you here with me as mine. Play your role and I'll ensure Daniel pays for what he's done. Refuse." His lips curled into a cruel smirk. "And you'll be left with nothing but shame." Her chest tightened. Every instinct screamed at her to run, yet something in his words struck deep. Could this man really destroy Daniel, the one who had shattered her soul? Alexander offered her a contract, protection, power and revenge in exchange for her obedience. With trembling hands, she took it. It wasn't a deal. It was a pact with the devil, and Alina had just signed away her freedom. Days turned into weeks, and Alina found herself trapped in Alexander's world of wealth and power. Everywhere she turned, he was there, watching, commanding, pulling her into his orbit. His presence was suffocating. Yet she couldn't deny the way her heart stumbled whenever his gaze lingered on her. She hated him. She hated his arrogance, his control, his coldness. And yet when he touched her hand at a dinner party, her pulse raced. When he stood close enough that she could feel the heat of his body, her breath caught. At night she would curl into herself, whispering that it was all manipulation, that her heart was weak, but her body betrayed her, aching for the man who held her like a possession, and yet, in fleeting moments, looked at her like she was more than that. One evening she dared to ask, "Why me? Why didn't you choose someone else?" Alexander's jaw tightened. His answer was quiet, almost vulnerable. "Because I saw something in you no one else did. Strength even in your weakest moment." Her heart quivered. Between hate and attraction, she was lost, trapped between wanting to escape and the dangerous desire to stay. Alina began to notice cracks in Alexander's cold exterior. He wasn't always the unshakable CEO the world feared. Sometimes when he thought no one was watching, his eyes carried shadows of pain. One stormy night, as rain battered the windows of his penthouse, she found him sitting alone with a glass of whiskey, his tie undone, his expression distant. "Why do you look at me like that?" she asked softly, stepping closer. His gaze lifted, raw and unguarded. "Because you remind me of someone I lost." Her heart squeezed. For the first time she saw not the devil, but a man haunted by scars no amount of power could erase. He told her about his past, a childhood marred by betrayal, a woman he once loved, who had abandoned him for wealth. Pain and distrust had hardened him, turning him into the ruthless man the world now knew. Alina listened in silence, her anger softening against her will. He wasn't just her captor. He was a man broken in ways she could understand. And as his story unfolded, she realized something terrifying. Their fates were tangled more deeply than she had ever imagined. Alina thought she had left Daniel behind forever, but fate wasn't so kind. One evening, as she exited Alexander's office, her heart froze. Daniel stood there, arrogance painted across his face. "You belong to me, Alina," he sneered, stepping forward. "You think you're safe with him? You're nothing without me." Her knees trembled, but Alexander appeared instantly, his presence fierce and commanding. "Touch her and you'll regret it," he warned, his voice like steel. Daniel smirked, unfazed. "You may have money and power, but I have history with her. She'll never truly be yours." Alina's heart pounded. The man she once loved now looked like a stranger, greedy, cruel, and shameless. For the first time, she felt no longing, no heartbreak, only disgust. Later, Alexander asked her quietly, "Do you still want him?" She met his gaze with firm eyes. "Never again." In that moment, a wall shattered between them. Her words weren't just rejection of Daniel. They were a step closer to choosing Alexander. Alexander had promised to protect her, but his growing desire turned possessive. Wherever she went, his shadow followed. No man was allowed near her. No decision was hers alone. His power over her was intoxicating yet terrifying. One night, when she tried to leave his office without permission, he cornered her. His hand pressed against the wall beside her face, his eyes dark with something between passion and madness. "You don't understand, Alina," he growled. "The thought of losing you drives me insane." Her breath hitched. "I'm not your possession, Alexander. I'm not a thing you can own." For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, with rare vulnerability, he whispered, "You're right, but I can't let you go. You've become my weakness and my strengths." Her heart wavered. Was this love? Or a dangerous obsession? She didn't know. But when his lips finally claimed hers, she realized her body had already chosen what her mind still resisted. Their relationship became a storm. Fierce arguments, passionate embraces, broken silences, and stolen glances. Alina fought him, resisted him, yet found herself falling deeper every day. It wasn't just his power that drew her anymore. It was the way he softened only for her, the way he listened when she cried, the way his arms felt like a shield against the world. One night, after Daniel tried once more to drag her back, Alexander stood in front of her like an unshakable wall. "No one will ever hurt you again. Not while I breathe." Her tears fell freely as she whispered, "Why do you care so much? Why me?" His reply was simple, raw, and real. "Because somewhere between hating the world and hating myself, I fell in love with you." Her heart finally surrendered. No longer out of fear, no longer out of desperation, but because she had found something she thought she'd lost forever. Love that was flawed, broken, and real. The war was over. Daniel was gone. His schemes exposed by Alexander's power and destroyed by his own greed. Alina stood in the CEO's penthouse, staring at the man who had once terrified her, but now held her entire heart. "You changed my life," she said softly, her voice trembling. "I thought I was ruined forever, but you gave me something I never expected. Hope." Alexander stepped closer, cupping her face with surprising gentleness. "No, Alina, you saved me. I was already ruined, until you walked into my life." Tears welled in her eyes as he pressed his lips against her forehead, a vow written in silence. In his arms she felt not like a possession, not like a broken woman, but like someone loved beyond measure. The girl who had been betrayed and sold found her forever, not in the hands of the man she once trusted, but in the embrace of the man who had turned her pain into strength. And so Alina's story began again, not as a victim, but as the woman who captured the heart of the ruthless CEO and never let it go.